Clark County Commissioner Tom Collins says his Democratic colleague Steve Sisolak is to the right of Republican Brian Sandoval. Will he say it to his face? Find out next. Plus, attorney Ross Goodman says Las Vegas Township Constable John Bonaventura is playing an illegal game of turf wars with his fellow constables. We'll hear from him, and we'll take you behind the day's political headlines. Ralston Reports next.
And now, Ralston Reports with John Ralston.
Welcome to Ralston Reports. We're bringing newsmakers and commentary you won't find anywhere else. Let's start with a look behind today's political headlines. The city of Henderson is already letting one defendant out of that lawsuit we told you about Monday. The ink is barely dry on the complaint against would-be sports arena developer Chris Milam and others involved in the deal. But already the city is accepting an extraordinarily low offer to let Milam's attorney out of the suit. Attorneys for Christopher Stevens called the city of Henderson's lawsuit alleging fraud against their client. Here's the quote: "Thuggish, cowardly, and a despicable piece of pulp fiction." That's some good writing. In a statement, attorneys Don Campbell and Colby Williams called the suit, quote, "nothing short of a legal drive-by character assassination of an extraordinarily gifted lawyer and decent human being." Accordingly, we made the following legal wager under Rule 68 with the city of Henderson. We will tender a check to the city for 1 hour of our legal time, $750. If you reject it, we'll be entitled to all of our fees and expenses when Mr. Stevens ultimately prevails at trial. The city of Henderson's prompt acceptance of this meager amount speaks volumes about its confidence in the gratuitous and inflammatory remarks its attorney spewed in the lawsuit. Whoa. By the way, last night we told you Henderson City Manager Jacob Snow misspoke when he said Milam paid $1 million into a fund to cover legal fees. Spokesman says today Snow confused the two accounts. The city says it has money left from Milam for legal fees. Not the million Snow claimed, but a hefty $12,000. Well, that will go far. Let's be clear here. A guy being sued by a government entity offers a paltry sum to be let out, and the government says, yes. That is truly something. And I wonder what that says about the rest of the city's case. Now, in interest of full disclosure, I should tell you, Campbell and Williams, the attorneys who got the Henderson suit dismissed against their client, represent me. They also represent my producer, Dana Gentry, in another case of character assassination filed by the same attorneys the city of Henderson hired, Bailey and Kennedy. The man at the controls of McCarran International Airport since 1997 is stepping down. Sources confirm Randy Walker will leave his post in June. Before taking over as Director of Aviation, Walker served as an assistant Clark County manager. The obvious choice to take over for Walker is his longtime deputy, Rosemary Vasiliadis. I hear she likely has the support of the county manager and a majority of commissioners. A legislative effort is underway to eliminate the Las Vegas Township Constable, and with a DUI arrest this week for allegedly driving drunk in his government vehicle, Constable John Bonaventura isn't helping his case. One attorney says Bonaventura has a pattern of overstepping his bounds. Ross Goodman represents the Henderson Constable who's being sued by Bonaventura over turf wars. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, John.
Now, this sounds almost comical to me. I'm sorry. You got these constables suing each other, Laughlin and Las Vegas. Bonaventura essentially sued your guys, saying they were infringing on his turf. And here's the problem, according to you. It makes it impossible. The constables can't remain within their jurisdiction. Here's what you had. As a practical matter, persons or assets are often located in a different township where the business or consumer who hired the constable's office is located. How dare you bring common sense to this comedy?
It's a practical matter, John. You can't have a county officer suing another county officer over the regulation of the service of process. The only people who can regulate county officers in Clark County would be the Clark County Commission. The Clark County Commission has the authority to not only fix compensation for constables, but to abolish the office. So it stands to reason that the Commission has the authority to do everything in between, including to regulate any complaints they have regarding service of process.
As I recall, the commissioners were surprised by this. They were upset by this in the sense that they didn't want to have to pay legal fees for one constable to be serving another. Although I suppose the argument is that John Bonaventura is an elected official, right? That they don't have as much jurisdiction as they want over him. At least that's his argument, right?
Well, what's funny about that is Mr. Bonaventura is sued not as a constable, but in his individual capacity. And he sued the Henderson Constable and Laughlin Constable in their individual capacity. So he's doing that, we believe, because there's no right of action. Another constable can't enforce saying that another constable isn't doing his job, and that's what he's doing right here. And that's why the Supreme Court, we believe, stayed the injunction, and now everybody's going back to normal, because common sense would dictate that if Henderson Justice Court will issue a writ of garnishment, more likely than not, the attachment or the garnishment is going to be in a different township. Nobody in Clark County really gives respect for the townships when you have service of process and writs of execution. Otherwise, it would come to a grinding halt.
This is like the Keystone Cops, though. I mean, this is very bizarre, Mr. Goodman. First of all, I should say we asked Mr. Bonaventura to come on tonight, and we were not successful, unfortunately. But last summer, in July, when this injunction first came down, John Bonaventura's office issued a news release, and this is something else. I got to read part of it. According to transcripts of this case, Jordan Ross, who's the constable of Laughlin Township, your client, I believe, went so far as to establish office space within Las Vegas Township to start a division of their agency called the, quote, Las Vegas Bureau. This move was widely regarded as misleading and a public safety issue. The words Las Vegas Bureau were embroidered on their uniforms, which were shockingly similar to Las Vegas Metro SWAT uniforms. Don't even get into the fact those guys being SWAT officers, mistaken for SWAT officers. The similarity of the uniforms used by the Laughlin deputies prompted Sheriff Doug Gillespie's office to order them to change their uniforms to prevent being mistaken for members of Metro. The court records also show, under the direction of Henderson Township Constable Earl Mitchell, Deputy Director Steve Kilgore solicited civil processing work from law offices and collection agencies located within the Las Vegas Township. Isn't there enough business in Henderson and Laughlin for these guys? These Laughlin guys have to come up, embroidered uniforms, look like SWAT officers to serve their the stuff up here? Come on.
The problem is, John, is that there was no evidence of that in court. Instead, Johnny Bonaventura, who was elected in January of 2011, sued 18 months after taking office in July of 2012, basically trying to get the courts to give him a monopoly on the service of process system. And the reason why we believe he did so is that he alleged in his complaint in district court that because people are coming in, because businesses have the free choice to select who they want to serve their papers, that's causing reputational harm to Mr. Bonaventura.
I don't see how he could sustain any reputational harm at this point, but forget about that for a second. Why are your guys, are you telling me your guys don't have these embroidered uniforms?
No, I'm saying that there was no evidence of that.
No, but they do.
Court.
They have these uniforms, don't they? Las Vegas Bureau of the Henderson, their Laughlin Constable. Come on.
Henderson and Laughlin have their own uniforms, but what happens is you have businesses in Las Vegas who want another office to serve their papers because either they don't like what's going on in the office, they don't like what they hear in the newspaper about Mr. Bonaventura, so they select it, so they have the free choice to choose who they want to serve process.
So this is Jordan Ross and his buddy Michael McDonald, the former councilman, now the chairman of the Republican Party, wanting to gin up more business in Las Vegas, and John Bonaventura got mad about it and sued him. Didn't I just distill what this whole thing is about right there?
Not really, John, because
you're not just going to agree with me? That would have been nice. Go on.
You still have the right to have who you want to serve process. All these constables, even though there's 11 constables elected in Clark County, they're all peace officers, so they all have to go through peace officer status training. They're Category 2 officers. They're highly trained and professionals, at least most of them are, in most offices. And so they have the ability and the training to execute writs and garnishments and attachments, sometimes in very dangerous circumstances.
We're about out of time, but tell me now, the Supreme Court, as you mentioned, stayed the injunction. What's next? Where's this going next?
We briefed the issue, and now we're waiting for Johnny Bonaventura's lawyer, Spencer Judd, to file his response, and then hopefully the Supreme Court will hear it this summer.
All right, well, we'll talk more about the case when it's resolved. Ross Goodman, a pleasure having you on the program again.
John.
Thanks for coming on. When we come back, it's County Commissioner Smackdown time. Tom Collins and Steve Seselak, they love each other. You're going to find out just how much in a few minutes. Stick around.
Have a question or comment? You can email John, ralstonreports@gmail.com.